their leaves in the fall. But last summer, they were actively photosynthesizing, and then they're photosynthesizing and they're creating sugars, and they're sending those sugars down into the roots.
Okay.
The tree loses its leaves over the winter. So this, just as the ground starts to defrost and the little roots start to take up water, it creates pressure in the roots, and there's sugars in the roots from last summer. So you're capturing some of that sugar as it starts to go up the tree.
Oh, really?
And you can see how big the hole is. It's tiny. That's it. And you only put one tap in per tree.
Yeah, you'd almost kind of think you'd be getting it as it comes down. It's kind of neat that it comes the other way.
Yeah, so it's last season's. I think if you were to capture it as it comes down, there'd be other things in there other than just sugar. Right now, there'd be a lot of other things. And you go, when do you start? That's often a question that's asked. You start when you see the first butterfly or the first mosquito, and spring's in the air, and then you'll know if you tap the tree if there's sap. Quite often you'll tap too early, which we do. So we want to capture that early season. And nothing happens, it's dry.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you go until the trees start to flush, and there's something happens different in the buckets, eh? Desiree, when we stopped, the buckets were a little smelly, pink. The sap changes, because I think what's happening is they are starting to bring things down from the trees, right, to feed the roots. So you're just capturing those early sugars. And with birch syrup, with birch sap, there's been a few studies done up north. These sugars change a wee bit. So it's primarily fructose and glucose, which are soft sugars like berry sugars. But at the very beginning of the season, there's a little bit of sucrose. So you want to capture that early season sap, because that little bit more sucrose, it'll create a lighter syrup. And if you're a really big operator, they actually split their sap early season versus late season, because the sucrose results in a lighter syrup, which is more like maple syrup, although not, right? Just a little different, yeah.
So that's obviously the same technique they use for maple? Like,
and their sugars probably change a wee bit too, but it still is primarily sucrose, whereas we're fructose and
But they're
glucose.
still capturing that root sugar.
Yeah, exactly. But their season is a little different. The trees behave a little differently. Maple do than birch. Birch season is only about 3 weeks. It's very short, so that's why it's pretty intense for 3 weeks.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, and if you're a big operator, then that's a lot of sap, which is why you have to have a bigger unit.
Right.
And so you can imagine, you've got this evaporating, we have a cupola, the whole idea is that to get rid of the moisture, but it starts to rain in here. Because it's gone. It's like, I said to and you could almost, if you could capture the smell, because it's a lovely smell, but if you could also capture, sell the sauna. Or the steam heat treatment, right? Come for a bit of birch sap, steam heat.
You could build this into a bit of a sauna, just have some benches
$20.
on the side.
That'll be $20, please.
It's great for the skin.
Yeah, good for the skin, because it is. It's just doing its thing, right? And so so Ted does most of this part. This is his thing. He sits in the corner and he feeds the fire and he reads a book and he drinks a beer and it's all good.
Sounds awesome.
It's not so bad, right? And then I'll say to myself, you should be out cleaning up the yard. And
gotta watch the fire. Gotta watch the fire.
Come on. It's a new term, and it's a computer logging on. People say to me, what do you mean you're logging on while you're talking to me on the phone? Get off that computer. And it's like, no, we're sticking the log on the fire. We run into that with Ted. He was talking to his parents, and his parents said, well, what are you doing? He said, well, I'm logging on. They said, get off the computer. You're talking to me. And it's like, no, I'm sticking the log on the fire.